Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio. So today I'm here to give you a bit of a warning. And that warning is rather simple. You are investing in the wrong Pokemon cards. I see a lot of messages from people, a lot of posts from people saying what they're investing in, what they've been picking up, and frankly, a lot of it I disagree with. So let's go and have a look at some of the common mistakes people make, and then maybe look at some tips at the end. Now, one of the things I see quite a lot is the big money cards. Take something like an Umbreon, for instance. Umbreon VMAX, Moonbreon, as it is often known. There was a time when investing in that card, picking that card up, might have been a decent shout. That time has long since gone. Look what's happened to the card in the past year, according to TCG Player. Starts off at about $635, drops down as low as $500, even a bit below that in October, and now it's gone up to like a $950 card. I've seen some ridiculous sales of this. People, selling it for $1,500 or trying. No, it's not. It's a $950 card. There was a time when picking up this card was a decent call because it was so big and so hyped. That time has long since passed. Unfortunately, we are at the stage now where you can go and pick this card up, don't get me wrong, but you're never going to make anything off it. It's probably going to go up in price a little bit. But spending $1,000 on a card that might go up a little bit, it's not going to come down very much. It's not going to go up a huge amount from here, one would imagine. So, yeah, the time for this one has absolutely passed. The really big cards like this, you need to get on them early, or when you see a little bit of a dip. As soon as it starts building up properly, the time has gone. But there's a bunch of other cards, which I like to term cards that were big in Japan. Like Miriam, classic example, Miriam. Miriam was a terrible, terrible idea. Because generally speaking, as a general rule, Japanese supporter cards tend to hold a little bit more value. This one, in English, look what happened on TCG Player. We've gone from about $55 on release down to a $30 card. It was never even that ridiculous. There was a point, like when the pre-releases were happening, there was a point where Miriam was absurd, where people were paying just absolutely ridiculous over the odds. The earliest I've got in terms of price of this, the earliest screenshot I've saved is from March the 21st, when we had the pre-releases for the set. And people were paying over $250 for Miriam. That was absurd. This was a card that was only ever going to go down. And we can see this from other supporter cards that were hyped over in Japan. Take Dendra as an example. Dendra, on release in Japan, was a very hyped card, which meant that when it came out over here, it was a similarly hyped card. People went, well, it's a big card in Japan, so it's definitely going to be a big card over here. I see no counter-argument. Yeah, that never happened, unfortunately. And if we have a look at TCG Player, over the course of the past year, it's gone from a $25 card to a $10 card. Here's a screenshot from almost a year ago that shows it actually started off as a $55 card, which was still massively, massively too high, before dropping down fairly considerably. The big supporter cards over in Japan seem like good investments when they come out over here. And actually, yeah, that is just not the case. Even take something like Iono, right? Iono should be safe. Iono should be a card where you look at it and go, wassy, wassy, wassy. Come on, mate. It is a staple in like every deck. And it's Iono. Surely. That's a pretty good investment. Nah, mate. Look at the course of Iono over the past year. We've gone from $140 down to a $75 card. And sure, $75 for a special illustration rare supporter in the modern era, in Scarlet and Violet, that's really expensive for a supporter card. And it is very much the exception. It has held its value more than a lot. But even then, when we say held its value, like, It started off ridiculous and then dropped. There has been no chance to pick this card up, and then it went up. It never went up. It only ever went down. So you could either have paid a ridiculous amount of money at the start and seen it have, or you could pay a ridiculous amount of money now and see it kind of stay around about the same points. And, you know, the one from Paldean Fates was even worse. Again, people thought it might be worth picking up. Good news is it only started as like a $65 card, but it's now a sub $30 card. Big supporter cards in Japan are worth decent money. I've got a few, I've sold a few, it went quite well. Over here, no. No. Not even close. It doesn't happen. But what about stuff like booster boxes, for instance? What about Evolving Skies booster boxes? We all know how great Evolving Skies is. We all know that, you know, those cards have spiked a little bit recently. So why would we not just go and pick up a bunch of Evolving Skies booster boxes and just have at it? Surely that's a decent way to do it. Well, I'm not entirely sure. Like, if we take Evolving Skies booster boxes, if we look at the last sold over on eBay, you're looking at $700. It was a decent sale. The thing is, Evolving Skies is a set that came around a long time ago at this point. Like, it's not a particularly recent set. And it's almost 3 years old. And it's gone from 150 to 700, which, to be fair, is a decent jump. All right, that is a decent jump. But you had to wait 3 years for that. So, yes, you buy it on release. You wait 3 years. You do end up $550 up. If you wait 3 years. You've sat on that product for 3 years and made a profit of less than $200 a year. Is that good? I'm not entirely sure that's good. And the thing about booster boxes is you've got to actually find someone to buy them, or you got to put them up on eBay and hope that that's not the time they go end up a little bit cheaper. And sometimes they do end up selling a little bit cheaper. And the thing is, I am willing to admit that Evolving Skies was a good set to pick up 3 years ago. And honestly, you probably could have seen it coming. Evolving Skies wasn't this set that came in out of nowhere. Evolving Skies was hyped on release. Evolving Skies was great. There is no other set to do that with. Even if we can see that Evolving Skies was a good set to invest in, brilliant, you had to do it 3 years ago. And if you did, then that was actually a decent shout. But what now? There aren't any other sets that are doing that. You know, the set before Evolving Skies was Chilling Reign. So that is an older set. Yeah, last booster box of that sold for $200. $210. $60 profit if you sat on that for 3 years. Like, that can't be a good thing, can it? That is not a great idea. The only booster box that's really been worth it at all is Evolving Skies, which might have netted you $550 if you sat on it for 3 years and got in at the beginning and managed to sell it for a decent price. Investing in any other booster boxes is absolutely ridiculous. So what should you be investing in? Well, here's the difficult question. I can give you an answer, but it's not a necessarily very satisfying answer. It's the promos and products that not everybody else is picking up, either because they don't see it or they're not able to. And this is where it gets a little bit awkward. Because take something like Van Gogh Pikachu, right? That's an awkward card to get hold of on release. But there's also a lot of them. Everybody is going for that card. And Pokemon are inevitably going to make it more available. Now, I don't mean from now, I mean from release. From now, no, they're probably not making it more available. But there was absolutely a point where they did make it more available. And that kind of tanked the price. Pikachu with grey felt hat. I mean, look, I will tell you it's stuck at about $100. But from a high of 170, that's not that great. You had to have picked it up kind of on release a bit sneakily. Now, sometimes it's obvious. The Celebrations Ultra Premium Collection, yeah, absolutely. That was a nightmare to get hold of. Didn't get a reprint. That was absolutely a great option. If you were able to get hold of it, then yeah, that was a really good idea. Celebrations Ultra Premium Collection, go and pick that up. That was a very cool product. And honestly, nowadays, it's still a very expensive product, which is honestly just a bit of a pain to get hold of, if I may be so bold as to say so. Like, if I go onto eBay right now and have a look at the most recent sold, about $400. For what it's worth, it hasn't really gone up in the past couple of years. It's been $400 for a year or two now at least. But it was a $150 product, so that was a, cheeky, easy profit. Problem was, it was a nightmare to get hold of. But the things we see jumping up quite a lot are the things that people can't or don't want to get hold of. Take the Squirtle promo from 151. Only available if you bought the Ultra Premium Collection from the Pokémon Center. That was a free promo of a $150 box, and it's settled quite nicely as like a $90 promo. That is a decent card. This is the kind of card you want to be going for. Because actually, most people didn't care. They just saw it as a reverse holo Squirtle from 151, and it was just a bit like, oh, it's not really that special. It's the regular card, and then I've got to buy a whole $150 box to get hold of it. Well, actually, on release, you could pick this up for like $15, $20 quite easily. Because nobody really wanted it, because it wasn't a particularly fancy card. So on release, this promo was really quite easy to get hold of. I saw a bunch of $15, $20 listings, and then the 151 Premium Collection went out of stock. And then you couldn't get the promo anymore, and then the price started jumping up, but at that point, it's just a little bit too late. How about the Unigaba Eevee promos? These were a right pain to get hold of, but they were actually pretty easy if you put some work in. What I mean is, they were readily available on the Pokémon Center in Japan. You could get them online. You could get 10 random promos with one order. It was one random promo per 1,000 yen spent, up to a total of 10. So you go and spend 10,000 yen, for instance, which was, I don't know, like $60, and you get 10 of these promos, random seal packs, one per pack, and 10,000 yen worth of stuff from the Pokemon Center. And you could put in multiple orders, and sure, you'd have to pay shipping from Japan to the US, but there's companies around that will help you out with that are really not that expensive. And then, look at these. The last couple of solds, complete sets, ungraded, one for 130, one for 150. It was absolutely worth doing. Now, for me personally, I had no interest in trying to resell these. I just went and got my set. I got 10, pulled 8 different ones, 2 spares, traded one with the lovely Primal Lugia, boom, job's a good 'un. Got my set of 10, or 9 different ones. Got my set of 9, off you go. But these are the kind of cards. People keep trying to speculate on cards that come out of packs, and the reality of the situation is you will get the odd card, like Moonbryon, that does go nuts out of a pack. But it hasn't really happened much at all in the Scarlet and Violet era, at least. The pull rates are low, and there's so many people speculating so often that when a card like that does come around, the chances of actually getting it for a decent price become almost zero. Like, the best one we really had in the Scarlet and Violet era was the Charizard EX from 151. That one has actually started going up and up and up. Okay, that's a lie. It's been all over the place, but it's kept its value at like a $110 card. It has had some decent legs. But it was a Charizard from one... Like, everybody was after that card. Nobody was selling that card for $30, $40 when it came out. Nobody. And that's kind of my point here. When everybody's after... By the time anyone's looking for a card, the chances of, quote-unquote, investing in it are just... Oh, it was pointless. It's all about the opportunities of cards which are either rare enough for people to care and hard enough to get hold of that people aren't going to bother, like the Unigaba Eevees, or they are the ones that people are sleeping on, like for instance a Pokemon Center Squirtle. So there we go. There's some ideas for you. Look, if it was easy and obvious to be like, get these cards are going to shoot up in value, everyone would be doing it. But the point I'm making here is I see an awful lot of people talking about getting this card, getting that card on release, and I thought I'd just give you a few, really concrete examples of these cards didn't work and here's why. Here's a couple of examples of ones that did and why, and then I send you off into the world to make your own way. Sound like a plan? Excellent. Because now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me which cards you've picked up and had some luck with. Tell me which cards you've seen crash in value. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Chelsea Rose, who's been a supporter of ours for a long time now and is a very lovely person, so shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching PTCG Radio.